All right, so we've mixed up our glaze. We have our project. We have our glaze tongs that we're going to use to help dip this. One last thing before I actually go ahead and dip it is I like to give it one more kind of last stir to make sure that nothing's settled. There's no thin film of water on the top of my glaze. Even if you think you just filmed, if you get distracted for 30 seconds, a minute, you run the risk of this glaze not turning out. So I'm going to be here, I mix it up, and now I'm ready to dip glaze. I'm going to use my tongs. Now for these bowls, it makes the most sense for me to dip it what I'll call upside down, turn it, count to 3, swirl it, and come back up. If you have a different shaped project or kind of interesting, make sure to talk with your instructor, talk with your teacher about what the best way to hold, grip, and actually dip your project to make sure you're getting the best and even application as possible. Okay, so I have my glaze tongs. I'm going to hold them here. As I go down in, I go slowly until that project is completely submerged. I kind of swirl it around for a count of 3, and then I slowly take that back out, letting all that excess drip off. Okay? It looks a little something like this. I start to swirl it around a little bit, counting 1, 2, 3, and then I'm slowly going to come back up, letting all the excess glaze kind of drip off. And once it starts to slow down, that's when I like to kind of turn my project. Right? Making sure that glaze that's on there is kind of shifting around, not pooling in a specific spot, to make sure I get that even application. You can see down here where I waxed my project, there's a little bit of excess glaze that kind of attaches to that wax. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that sponge, that water, and I can do this. I can get a friend to help me do this that's next to me, but I'm going to take that sponge and I'm going to wipe off all that excess glaze to make sure that I don't run the risk of that staying on there, it melting, and then having my project attached to the kiln shelf once it goes in the kiln. Okay. I move that around. Now you might be able to see, and I'm going to put this down. As I take these glaze tongs apart, I'm going to do my very best to be very, very careful and not scraping and just kind of going out and then up. And the last thing I'll show you is, you can see I have this kind of little teardrop here. That is totally fine, right? As this melts, it'll kind of disperse. The worst thing you can do is try to touch it to try to kind of finish it up and fix it. It's fine. We're actually going to try to touch this the least we can for the rest of the time here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to bring it back to my cubby, let it dry, trying not to again touch it the most that I can.